recommendation. So tip number one, we want to define the objectives and goals of the community. And what we're looking at here is, again, size of the community. How big do you want it to be? What do you want people to get out of it? So what is the value proposition you're trying to deliver? How often do you want people, is it a paid community? So do you want them to be paying for membership? Is it a monthly, annual? All of these things are going to affect the objective of your community, because it's going to affect almost everything you do in terms of the strategy of engagement and the platform and the technology that you use. So one of the examples I share is that, we've got people who build coaching communities, and they don't want any more than 20, 25 people in group programs, or so their strategies for both marketing and engagement can be very different than other people who are using communities to engage thousands of paying members that are getting different types of value, right? So depending on what the objective and the goal is, it will affect how you do everything. And it's really important to then be able to measure some of the success of whether you've been able to achieve that. Tip two, join other communities who fulfill your need and observe and learn from them. So there are hundreds of Facebook groups for probably anything that we're trying to do, if not more. So, we have to try to identify what is different about our community, if anything, so the USP. But ultimately, if you can go into the groups, this is not necessarily about looking at what their content these guys are delivering, but it's about looking at the conversation of what the members are talking about. What questions are people asking? What are their challenges? What might be something that you could fulfill in your own space that would serve that target member better? And I think be very careful about, talking about your community too much in some of these. Facebook groups are a great example. I'm in a few, which are all about peer-to-peer support on building memberships and engaging online. I'm obviously trying to always learn as well. And I'm not in there to try to sell Ugenie. It's about sharing the value that I might be able to in terms of answering someone's question. But what I don't want to be seen in there is trying to poach some members from somebody else's community. But it is an opportunity for me to learn what people's challenges are so that I can deliver value inside in my own. Identify your ideal member clients so you can attract the right people and create the right content. So this, it's all related to tip one about strategy, but you want to be bringing the right people into your community. So let's say you're running a community of moms in business. You're going to be creating a certain amount of content, a certain type of tone at the times that are most relevant for that member type. So if you're not attracting the right people into the community, the content that you're going to be planning and delivering won't be relevant for them, and they'll leave. And we're going to talk a little bit in one of the tips about customer acquisition costs, right? In terms of getting members or getting community members into. So I'm doing this as a presumption that most of you are building communities in some sort of business context. So you will need to also acquire members and bring them into the community. But if that's not the case, we can talk offline about different types of communities for your specific challenges. But attracting the right person means that you can create the right content and keep that person. We don't live anymore in a marketing world where customers can be served a one-size-fits-all strategy. Relevance is super important. They want to feel like you're talking right to them. Look at the email marketing companies are doing today. It's targeted down to our behavior in terms of what shoes we might have looked at on someone's website. So they're sending us very relevant offers so that we can go ahead and buy that thing that we were looking at. It's really important as well in the community management and engagement that you're doing. You want to create a look, name, and feel that represents the brand but could be unique to the community. And what I'll do is I'll give you an example to show you what this means. So Piyush Patel is a Federation of Small Businesses advisor, and he has a couple hundred people that he signed up under his membership. He created the family on Ugenie to give them a value add, to give them another place for them to get to know each other, to talk about, build relationships so that they could buy services or recommend the other people in the community to others. So rather than calling it the FSB family, calling it, he called it the family. And recently he just did a Family Fortunes event as well to try to, again, build that loyalty amongst the members. So he's creating this insider, it's FOMO, right? He's creating that idea that he's using that community building within the family to also help attract new people to the community. So giving it that kind of look and feel so that people also start to feel that, build that loyalty and attachment to it. So choosing the right platform is really important. And so, what are the types of platforms that you can use today? Depending on your objectives, there are probably 5 to 6 really good platforms for coaching communities, social communities, private communities, children's, parents. there is something probably out there for everyone. So what are the main ones? So you've got Facebook groups, of course. You've got WhatsApp. Some people are starting to use WhatsApp to like kind of foster their small communities. Kajabi is a great space for teaching and education. There is Mighty Networks out of Silicon Valley, which is similar to Ugenie. But choosing the right platform. And there are some things that I would suggest that you look at when you're trying to choose the right platform. What is your budget and how much does the platform cost? So if you are looking for something free, or looking for something low cost and your budget is an implication, it's going to affect which platform you choose. Is the platform easy to access, right? Is it a single sign-on? Is it an app? Is it on web? Again, when you look back at your demographic of who's using it, are those people on app and on mobile phones? Are they out and about most of the time, or are they on web? Or do you want something that's on both? We, pre-COVID, were only mobile app, but because of COVID are now launching our web app. Actually this week, it'll be finished by June 1st. And so now Ugenie will be accessible both on app and web. Now, for us, that was important because now everyone's sitting at their computers rather than out and about on their phones. But interestingly enough, a lot of people, the number of downloads of apps in the last couple of weeks has also been quite significant. Does the platform allow for you to easily share content and interact with other members of the community? Now, when we're talking about sharing content, there's two things. It's A, with each other inside the private network, and then there's B, sharing outside. We at Ugenie don't allow for that because our communities are private. People that are in there for because they've either bought a membership or they're, it's a children's community, so that we don't want to be sharing content. We want to be very protective of it. But there's other platforms that allow you to do that social sharing as well. So you look at whether that is something that you want to do. Does it allow for push notifications? There's a lot of noise out there, and that's, I think, one of the challenges of Facebook. So Facebook has lots of pros and cons, and I think one of the cons is how noisy Facebook has gotten, and is your message getting through to your members? Can you customize the platform to your liking? So are you able to add branding? Are you able to create those groups, member types? Are you able to customize it in a way that is most relevant for you and your members? And if not, then maybe not right now. As you grow, will that platform still stay relevant for you in the future? So it's not just about customization at the moment, but start looking at what you want to do when you grow. And does the platform integrate with other systems? And what are the most important systems? So do you need to take payment? Do you need to do Zoom calls? What are the key features that you need? And does your platform integrate? So tip 6, create a content plan based on the channels and that fosters engagement. It's going to be very different again based on the platform. So if you're looking at WhatsApp, for example, and you're using WhatsApp to build your community, or Slack, something that's much more conversational, your content plan needs to be a bit different than if you're doing a forum type of platform like Ugenie or Facebook. So, you need to take a look at your platform and then build a content plan that is going to be, again, relevant for the people that are in the community. And so let's take a look at, I can share some additional tips. I have a content tip guide that I can share with anyone that wants it. But the idea is it can be as simple as using some of the principles that people are using out there, right? So Monday motivation, Tuesday, Tech Tuesday, which is what we do. So today's tech tip was actually having a backup to technology. Zoom went down on Sunday. What would we use if Zoom wasn't ready? Do we have a backup plan? Do I know how to use it? So making sure that we actually have a backup. And on that note, actually, if your community platform went down, so let's say you are using a Facebook group, we've heard a lot of people who have either been kicked out of their Facebook group or have had their membership on hold because of the algorithm. How else would you engage with your members? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have email access to them? Making sure that you're building the strong, engaged community, that you have another way to access and contact them in case your platform that you're using went down. And technology is technology, no matter, even there was a couple times last year Facebook went down. We never thought that would happen, right? And Zoom, again, also went down on Sunday. So just being prepared to be able to engage our people. And actually, I do think that we need to do a bit of cross-channel engagement. So sending a monthly newsletter is what some people need versus others that want to be engaged in a community forum more, on a daily basis. The rule there is usually 80-20. And so if you got 20% of your people engaged, you're doing pretty well. And you will always have those that engage, that are looking at content, but never actively contributing. Tip 7, staying organized. And this is all part of, I think the whole stream of this is that the planning, the organization. Part of the organization also is as you're looking at what's going on in your community after you post content. So looking at the data in terms of what people are looking at, how they're engaging with it. will allow you to potentially create content based on their behavior. And actually one of the tips is tied to that, so I'm going to move on. But in terms of staying organization, and this is also kind of on content, is you could do daily posting of content, weekly posting, monthly, whatever that kind of plan looks like. My suggestion is always to have a minimum of 4 weeks, if not 12 weeks of content scheduled or planned out. Because especially when you're first starting to build a community, what you're going to be focused on is getting people into it, getting people to engage, having them understand the tech, having them get from their emails to wherever you're trying to lead them, depending on how you're attracting your community members. So if you have your content plan sorted out and scheduled, and again, some platforms allow you to do that organically with them, like Facebook allows you to schedule content, Ugenie allows you to schedule content, or you can use a third-party scheduler such as Hootsuite to make sure that your content is going out on that regular interval. And the other thing with planning, it's more people start to expect it. So if you're doing a post every Tuesday, they may not even know that they're expecting it, but they'll start to expect it, and it builds up that cadence. So I'll share the slides so you guys can take a look at that in more detail. Creating a marketing funnel which leads your prospective members to your home base. So this is coming back to the plan, right? If you're going to use Facebook, how are you getting people to that Facebook group? Is that call to action in all your emails? If you're doing webinars, again, sharing that link. How are you getting people back? That's what a lot of our clients put in every newsletter. They'll say, and all of this is found in our Ugenie Hub. Here's how you join it. So making it really easy for your members and prospective members to find you and where you're hosting the community. Setting metrics for success is actually, I think, super important as well, because you want to understand what you're trying to achieve and also the time frames that you're trying to achieve it in. Building communities online is hard. It's not easy. It's not something that happens overnight. It does take a lot of time. And the final tip when we get to it is be patient with yourself, but it does take time. There's a lot of noise. You're competing for people's attention, and it's online even noisier than it was before. So it's very different if you've got an existing community which you're trying to bring together versus building a new one. But looking at those metrics for success and seeing what is important for you is going to impact a lot of this. And I think it's also looking at, the types of content that you're posting. So if you are posting content that nobody's looking at, if you go back to looking at the tip on the platform is making sure that you can actually monitor what people are looking at, how much they're engaging with your content. Because if you're posting stuff, if you're creating and spending all this time on creating content no one is looking at and no one is interacting with, A, it's wasting your time, but B, you could be giving them more value by creating content that's actually relevant to them. So the success and looking at the analytics at what people are doing is really important. So a few examples of metrics is how many new members do you join your community every week or every month, and what do you need for that to be a sustainable business if it's a business model based on membership? How many members are leaving? But more importantly, why? Why are they leaving? Are new members actively participating? Do they feel welcome? So you might do things like welcome posts, or have your kind of community rules and how to use the community in a very visual space. What content we already spoke about. What things are people not looking at? And also the final is the content type. So if everyone is engaging with video content and that's the content that's the most popular, then focus on creating the content type that people are actually engaging with. Depending on your demographic. Again, if we go back to maybe the moms example, at the moment, parents are finding they're running around after the kids, homeschooling, their own jobs. If there's something that they can listen to while they're doing other things, it might be more engaging to them right now than having to read things. So looking again at your user behavior and in your communities and how you can best serve them. Create and introduce a guide. So we spoke about this. This sometimes in the Facebook example, it's that rules. In WhatsApp, you have to click into the group description. In Slack, there's also a place where you can pin a post. So in all these platforms, there's a place where you can create and introduce. I think the thing that's important here is uniformly enforcing the rules. I think the easiest way to alienate people in a group is if you don't uniformly enforce the rule and people feel like other people are being favored. So being careful. In terms of, I mentioned Slack before, for those of you that don't know what Slack is a remote team communication tool. I use it myself for communicating with my developers. There are about 7 of us in that channel. I don't join other Slack channels because I want to keep that one space for me and my developers only. But there's lots of rules as well in terms of good etiquette on different platforms. And it's important to share those rules and what you expect with your community so that they're not also, breaking those rules. But more than that, it's about keeping information organized. One example that I share here is Happy People is this WhatsApp group I'm a part of. It's entrepreneurs and startups in London, and there's actually multiple Happy People groups. But one of the groups is Happy People Socials, and it's all about meeting in real life. So when COVID came and we're all locked down, we can't meet each other, they put the group in lockdown, which I thought was really great leadership, because it wasn't the purpose of the group. Otherwise, in the first few days, we were just being bombarded in there, and I think a lot of people were starting to leave. So, also being actively managing that. Welcome and setting the tone for new members. This is easier on some platforms than others, of course. I mean, in WhatsApp, it can be difficult because every time someone new comes, you have to re-give them the rules. There's no way to share old content. So it's not necessarily the best space to do it, but you want to welcome and set the tone, do a welcome post. We see this in Facebook quite a lot with groups saying, welcome our new members, they tag them in. I think take it one step further. If there's someone in your community that could benefit from meeting this new member, or if the new member could benefit from meeting someone in the community already, make that connection for them. Because again, if you are already introducing them to someone that's not just you, they're going to feel more welcome and they're going to feel more connected. Encourage networking and not selling. So this is probably only relevant to the more business networking type groups, and we do serve a lot of them. A lot of small business owners join networking groups, of course, to build their business, bring in leads. But we wanted, communities are about getting to know each other and building relationships, which is what works in small business selling anyway. It's about building trust and relationships. So if someone comes in there and all they do is spam the other members, it's not going to create a great atmosphere for the community as a whole, but they're also not going to look that great. So we want to encourage, and reinforce the purpose of the community in the first place. Monitor closely and respond quickly. And this is when I was referencing, the time that goes into building an engaged community. You need to be the first one off the mark, especially in the early days. I've seen this mistake made in some of our communities where a member will post, they'll ask a question, nobody will respond, and then that member will not be encouraged to post again because they've not gotten anything out of it, and they've just essentially potentially lost that person in that community. So even if it's just you responding to every single post, you need to make sure that any peer community member post or comment is being acknowledged. And once that starts to be happened by the peers, you don't have to do it as much yourself. But in the early days, it's very important. But also monitoring to make sure that there isn't inappropriate content being shared. And I shared the example with Happy People. Initiate discussion and personality to the conversation. So, that's what I'm working with a couple of our communities on right now as well. People, this is a COVID-related tip. It's maybe not always relevant, but we have all collectively, I do a community leader call with our clients every 2 weeks, and I did one yesterday. And everybody is collectively seeing a dip in engagement online. So people are coming to less webinars. They're coming to less, they're responding to emails less. I think April was that month where we all went online. Everybody's doing a lot of networking online. And collectively, and that it was representing of 10, 12 communities yesterday in the call. Everyone has seen a dip. So if you've seen that, it's a trend that I'm noticing across, we have thousands of members. So we have seen that. But we're looking at how can we initiate conversation and bring people back into the discussion. But maybe at the moment, we do need to have a lighter touch because people are a little bit zoomed out. And here, this is Piyush. He puts himself in a lot of his videos and building that personal touch in the community. Keeping the community warm. So if it is a community of members where you can upsell, or if there's some sort of a business objective of the community, making sure that you are keeping them warm. But I'm going to kind of go through the next few a bit quicker. That might be special offers that you're offering, members, perks, bonuses, surprises. In the customer retention webinar I'm actually running it again tonight at 5 for one of our clients. And so if anybody wants to join, let me know. But the idea of giving them surprises when they're not expecting it, or additional bonus or perk, that make them feel, again, just special for being in the community. Cultivating their stories, understanding, letting them talk and letting them share their story of who they are and what they do, not only will make them feel more special, but ultimately might give you some very organic testimonials and referrals that if you get their permission, you can use in your own community building. And we talked about tip 17 a little bit already. So analyzing your user data to better with your communities so that you don't need to get feedback. How many of us have done a feedback form, sent it out to our customers or any group of people, and gotten a very pitiful response? So we did one recently, and I think we got 20% response, which actually isn't bad, which is a bit sad. But people don't necessarily like to give feedback. It's another thing that they need to do. So if you can look at your user data and really be able to understand how you can better serve them without having to ask them, it's a great way to then better serve your people. And now feedback is, of course, important to try to get. But, for example, in here, we're taking a look at, who our most active members are in terms of data. How many posts have they made? How many comments have they made? To try to understand who, talking to our most engaged members in one of our communities. And when you do ask for feedback, so tip 18, asking for feedback, keeping it really, really simple. So rather than asking what your favorite pizza topping is, including a drop down with options. So, give the most popular 5 to 10 options. Recently we did about 6 weeks ago, I sent a survey out to all of our customers and I said, how can we help you through COVID? And we gave them 4 options in tick as many boxes as you want. And made it really simple. And we got a good response because it was really simple. So if you want feedback, making it as simple as you can for people. Showing gratitude and recognizing your community leaders. And this comes back to actually looking at the data as well and seeing who's most active. Showing that gratitude publicly, it helps them build it. They'll feel good about themselves. It'll help them build their profile as well. But also, as you have some community leaders coming up, one of the things that we're all trying to achieve is communities where the peer-to-peer is just as strong as the content that we're sharing as leaders, because that's you've achieved that online community objective, and also takes the burden off you and brings in all that collective resource. So by recognizing your community leaders, you're reinforcing, you're giving them, they will post more, they will engage more. And there's different ways that you can show your gratitude and recognize them. We did this we're going to give every month we're introducing a Ugenie Community Leader of the Month. This month it's Agnes Van Rijn from the Athena Network, and we're going to do a profile on her across our social media, and just talk about all the great things that she's doing in that community. So that's just one of the things that we're doing at the moment, but there's lots of other ways that you can do it within your community, or through other incentives and gamification principles. And then finally, be consistent and give yourself time. Online communities, real world communities, they take time to build, and you are competing with everyone's attention online. So whether that's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, we have so many social channels that we all engage with. Emails, it's not like we're getting any less emails at the moment. So it is difficult to get an engaged online community, but you just need to give yourself some time. And I think the final tip I'll leave you with before opening up for any questions, if there are any, is in the beginning, especially, your community will only be as active as you are. So, you can set it all up, but if you're not in there a lot, posting, engaging, supporting, even that initial, we've seen this in a few of our communities where in the beginning there was all of this energy and buzz with the launch and all this marketing and everyone was introducing themselves. And so you had all of this engagement going on. And then after a couple of weeks, when that introduction was done, there was that kind of dip. And it was, the community leaders were feeling like, oh, what did we do wrong? It's just that consistency and making sure that you are engaging people, consistently over a period of time in order to get that peer-to-peer community that you're looking for. So does anybody have any questions? Thank you. I mean, if anyone has any particular challenges that they'd like to share, feel free to, I'm going to just unmute everyone. But, if you have a specific challenge with the platform, a specific question for your community, feel free to share it with us at this time.
The defendants wanted to put up an obscene statue on their front lawn.
Okay.
Well, I consider it obscene.
Well, otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. And if you have any questions, feel free to email them to me. We are offering at the moment free strategy sessions for anyone. So feel free to email. I'll send that out in the follow-up email if you'd like to book a time to do a one-to-one. I'm offering that to everyone at the moment. So thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. And yeah. As Fiona is saying that she finds that people are getting bombarded with messages if you aren't careful, and stuff gets lost in the number of them. Yeah, very much. I mean, that's also the difficult part, is everyone is also going online, and we're actually getting more messages than we were before. So how do we kind of essentially get ourselves out of the noise? And ultimately, I guess the whole, being so super cheeky, Ugenie is social media without the noise. So, using your own platform is a way to get outside of that noise of especially Facebook groups. So great. So I'll let everyone go because I know you've got other calls and meetings. So Have a good day, and hopefully I'll connect with you all soon.
Thanks so
Bye.
much. Bye.
Bye.
During the tape, I saw a defendant come out in the middle of the night. I have memorialized that on this tape. Is that what this tape is? Yes, I have.